Never underestimate the lengths the shill access media will go to shield degenerate criminal scum movie stars. Hello, I'm Marvin, and I'm the Movie Monster. The Flash was a disaster, and my review of it was one of the first videos I ever produced. It's the ultimate superhero movie failure. The movie that the entire world tried to Jedi mind trick you into thinking was good. But The Flash failed in every way. It's an ugly, poorly shot, poorly written, poorly acted, and poorly promoted movie based off a pretty good comic book starring a great Batman, a gender-swapped Superman, because whatever that little wooden boy was, it wasn't Supergirl, and a man who chokes women, burglarizes houses, and allegedly groomed minors as both of its main stars. So why am I talking about this abysmal horror again? Because it's back in the news. Whenever Hollywood has such an epic failure, it likes to do a post-mortem analysis with everyone involved talking about what went wrong. Director Andy Muschietti, a guy who has as much of a chance at directing the next Batman movie as I do, recently did an interview with a Hispanic outlet in Spanish addressing the film tanking. And of course, the mainstream Hollywood access media shills over at Variety picked it right up. And the folks over at Variety were quick to point out that Muschietti blamed, shocker, the fans for the film's failure. That's an angle that Variety is all too happy to push. But, and this is the important part, while that's all Variety reported, that's not all the director said. In fact, he was very vocal about placing a lot of the blame on EZRA Miller. But, why would Variety leave that out? We'll find out today on Tooney Town TV. All right, guys, here we have a nice little headline from Variety. The Flash director, Andy Muschietti, says the film flopped because, quote, it wasn't a movie that appealed to the four quadrants. It failed at that. AKA, it's your fault. It's the fans' fault. Now, this is obviously a pretty damning thing that a lot of directors do nowadays. Just recently, James Mangold went on a tirade at the fans about the failure of Indiana Jones. It was your fault that, Indiana Jones and the Insufferable Feminist, or whatever you want to call the Dial of Destiny, it's your fault that failed. It's always a terrible take for a director to not, shoulder some of the blame, or to place the blame where it's due within their, organization, or within their, within the confines of the production in some way. And it seems to me from this headline that that's exactly what Andy Muschietti did. And if you watched a lot of My Compatriots last week, you saw a lot of this, because you saw a whole bunch of outlets ran with, Flash director blames the fans for the movie flopping. And guys, make no mistake about it, they're not wrong. He did do that. Okay, and it was terrible and ridiculous. And he tried to claim that nobody likes The Flash, which there's a TV show out there with 9 seasons that would beg to differ with you there, Andrew. Here's the thing, the truly insidious thing, and I want to just scroll down a little bit to just get this. The two EZRA Millers, the worst characters ever to grace a superhero movie. And yes, I'm including all characters involved in the Marvels in that. EZRA Miller has a large chunk of the blame for this movie flopping. He does. He went on an alleged crime spree that was very public. I mean, he choked a woman on camera.
Learn it? Did you want to fight? Is that the deal? Whoa, bro. Fight?
We have video footage of arrest where he's screaming at police officers belligerently and demanding badge numbers and names, and trying to insinuate that they're violating him in some way, or trying to call them phobic in or say that they're committing hate crimes because they're arresting him, or because somebody referred to him as sir.
Sorry, sir.
I'm sorry. I'm not a sir. I'm transgender, non-binary. Okay. Please don't refer to me as sir. It's not a that I use.
Okay. I was just trying to be respectful.
If you fail to do that again, that is an act of intentional bigotry, and it is a technical hate crime according to U.S. federal law. Please call me they, them, theirs. You can use the term mix.
A lot of people knew about this. It was pretty well publicized in the media, and a lot of people didn't go see The Flash because of it. So why then would Andy Muschietti not say that in his coverage? Well, it turns out, guys, he did. He did, and Variety, the shill outlet Variety, edited his comments to leave out the EZRA Miller blame and put the blame solely where people like Variety and those that work there think it belongs, squarely on your shoulders, my friends. So, in the aftermath of The Flash becoming one of the most notorious box office flops of 2023, director Andy Muschietti has spoken candidly about why the $200 million DC tentpole failed to connect with audiences. In a recent interview with La Bolera del Coso, Muschietti pointed to a variety of factors, including EZRA Miller's off-screen controversies, the supposed superhero fatigue plaguing audiences, and the film's failure to appeal to all 4 demographic quadrants, which are men and women over and under 25. However, in a surprising twist, key parts of Muschietti's comments, specifically those referencing Miller's scandals, were omitted in a story published by Variety. Now, here's the thing, guys. I was one of the people that was ready to report this when I wrote this for That Park Place, as Andy Muschietti blames the fans. I read it in Variety, and I was like, wow, that's pretty damning. I'm going to run off to the races with this. And a little voice in the back of my head was like, go to the source. So I found a translation of the actual interview, which was originally in Spanish. And boy, a more complete translation from the Spanish provided by Real Anarchy, Muschietti acknowledged Miller's quote, mental health situation and described the ripple effect it had on the film's reception. So he said, it's the result of a mental health situation, you know? It turned out the way it turned out, let's say. I mean, he was dealing with a mental health situation, and well, when you make a movie, there are things you just can't control. One of them is when actors have a public relations crisis. You know, he got into trouble, was arrested in Hawaii, etc., etc. He then went on to describe Miller as a talented actor who surprised him during production. He says, I had in general a very good experience with him. He's a great actor, a great comedian. I was very surprised by him. But then towards the end, I came across all of this. I'd say this happened months before the release, just before the premiere. And well, it was a setback. Guys, that right there is him placing the blame right on this knob job's head, right where that stupid, where he's defiling the reputation of Toadette by posing as her with his big hairy chest out. Now, despite these comments being an important aspect of his analysis, Variety left them out of its coverage, instead focusing solely on Muschietti's remarks about the film's demographic struggles.
Shields up.
The only mention of Miller's issues came at the tail end of the article, with Variety's Jack Dunn adding, outside of box office woes, The Flash was plagued by lengthy delays and off-camera issues with star EZRA Miller. That's it, guys. That's all they said about this. And look at this quote. I mean, this was a long quote. He spoke at length about the fact that this guy's crime spree, or alleged crime spree, is exactly, you know, it was a major setback to the film's box office. That's the story here. And that's the story that Variety specifically chose to bury. Now, why is that? I mean, I think we all know why that is. I mean,
Ha! Gay!
He is everything they want in a celebrity. They are running cover for him. And why is that? Because they want him back in Hollywood. Because somebody wants him back in Hollywood. Whether it's the studio heads that feed Variety, I don't know. I don't know what their situation is over there. But somebody somewhere wants this creep back in Hollywood movies. And they are trying to hide the things that the director of a film said, to place the blame solely on your shoulders to protect this person.
You can't keep getting away with it!
And I'm not trying to outrage farm here. If I sound outraged, it's because I'm outraged. Now, the controversy surrounding Miller was significant and well documented. In the year before The Flash's release, Miller faced a string of public scandals, including arrests for disorderly conduct, accusations of harassment, and allegations of inappropriate conduct with minors. The negative press surrounding Miller made headlines worldwide, casting a long shadow over the film's marketing campaign. Warner Brothers made the controversial decision to stand by Miller, a choice that many fans and industry experts criticized as a major misstep. In his interview, Andy Muschietti also detailed the film's particular challenges with demographic appeal, noting the Flash struggle to connect with women in particular. This was the main takeaway that Variety had from the interview. He said, with a $200 million movie is made, the studio expects to bring everyone, even your grandmother, to the theater. He then talks about the 4 quadrants, which, you know, say that for what you will. Look, here's the thing. Let's look at what he says here. In private conversations later on, I learned things like how a lot of people weren't interested in Flash as a character. Half of those 4 quadrants, the 2 female quadrants in particular, many women didn't care about Flash as a character.
This is a lie.
I would like to stick up for the Flash right now, for our friend Barry Allen, because here's the thing. It's not that people don't like the Flash. It's that people don't like this Flash. People don't like EZRA Miller. That's what they're talking about here. And that's Andy Muschietti does not make that distinction. He just thinks it's the Flash as a character. Look, say what you will about where the CW Flash season ends up when it just becomes the Iris West show. It's terrible. It gets really terrible toward the end. But The Flash ran for 9 seasons because people liked Grant Gustin as the Flash. People liked the character of the Flash. The Flash held the CW up. The CW was successful far longer than it should have been based on the success of the Flash. So it's not that they don't like the Flash. They saw this version of the Flash in Justice League. And then far fewer people, but still way too many, saw this version of the Flash in the 4-hour nightmare that was Zack Snyder's The Justice League and that stupid Snyder cut. And they decided, we don't like this Flash. That's the distinction that needs to be made here. But once again, we got to run cover for this creep. So even the return of Michael Keaton as Batman, a major selling point in the film's marketing, wasn't enough to save it. The omission of Muschietti's comments about Miller from Variety's coverage raises questions about the narrative being shaped around the Flash's future. By focusing solely on demographics and genre fatigue, mainstream outlets risk ignoring the significant impact Miller's controversies had on public perception of the film. Muschietti's full comments suggest a more nuanced reality, one in which a troubled lead actor and a tarnished studio all contributed to the movie's downfall. Another thing, after the Snyder movies, guys, people's interest in DC was nil. Nobody liked Justice League. A lot of people say that they liked the Snyder Cut, but not a lot of people liked the Snyder Cut. It got trounced in Max's top 10 the week it came out by Godzilla versus Kong. So there you go. So yeah, despite the failure of this film, Muschietti remains attached to direct Batman the Brave and the Bold for DC. However, the project's future is uncertain as it currently lacks a script and has shown little forward momentum. Until the leadership of James Gunn and Peter Safran, under the leadership of them, DC Studios is undergoing a major overhaul with many projects, obviously. It's up in the air. There's no script for the Brave and the Bold. So nobody knows what's going on, if it's being rewritten, if Andy Muschietti is still directing it. I honestly would say no, he's probably not, because Andy Muschietti failed horrifically with this movie. And look, you can't place the whole blame on Andy Muschietti's shoulders. He was like director number 5, in a movie that was just the definition of development hell, with a star that was choking women in public. So we can't really place the blame firmly on him, but Warner Brothers will, because God forbid anyone places the blame on their precious little angel here. What do you guys think? Why do you think Variety ran cover for this cretin? Sound off in the comments below and let me know.
I guess for the sake of legality, I gotta say that it's altogether possible that Variety didn't have sinister intentions with this omission. But in my opinion, that's a stretch. In my opinion, EZRA Miller, an accused violent criminal, was shielded by Variety on purpose. Now, why could that be?
I'm not transgender, non-binary. I'm transgender, non-binary. I'm transgender, non-binary. Please call me they, them, theirs. You can use the term mix.
The world may never know. But this is why the access media is dying. This is why YouTube channels are becoming, or scratch that, have become the new media. Because in an era where we all have so much information at our fingertips, and it's easier than ever for content creators to have a platform, we're realizing just how hard the shill access media has worked for decades to shield pompous, overprivileged, degenerate celebrities from facing the consequences of their actions. EZRA Miller effed around and found out. He choked a woman on camera and allegedly committed a score of horrible crimes, and partially because of that, his movie tanked and he's persona non grata in Hollywood. But the fact that Variety is shielding him says something. It shows that Hollywood is desperate to put him back in movies. It shows that Hollywood wants the backlash to die down so that it can prop him up as the next big star, because he's everything they want in a celebrity. A skinny, unthreatening, weak beta male who's on the queer spectrum, dresses in women's clothing, and shouts pronoun politics at people? I'm not altogether unconvinced that he's not some Hollywood Frankenstein's monster developed in a Burbank laboratory before escaping and going on a lady-choking spree. Variety is one of the worst shill outlets out there. The hardest hitting question they usually ask is,
Agatha is the gayest Marvel project yet. Do you agree?
Which, by the way, shows you what's important to them. Imagine if Johnny Depp or Chris Pratt had choked a woman in public right before a major blockbuster starring them came out and then bombed. Variety and every other shill despicable outlet would be out there ready to string them up and force them to shoulder the blame for this monumental failure. But because
I'm not transgender, non-binary.
it's your fault. Thanks for joining us today, and a special thanks goes out to our Tooney Town TV channel members. You guys are the heart and soul of this channel, and for that we thank you with exclusive content like Crime and Punishment, our true crime podcast hosted by myself and Trish, and our members-only live stream on Mondays at 3 p.m. EST. So if you are not a member of the Tooney Town TV channel, join today. Oh, and make sure you're joining us Thursday nights live at 8 p.m. EST for Tooney Talk TV, our live stream pop culture podcast where you can interact with me directly and make your voices heard as a part of the Tooney Town community. If you liked what you saw here today, please like, share, and subscribe. Click that bell icon to get notified of new videos as they drop from all of us here at the Tooney Town channels. I'm Marvin the Movie Monster. Now get out of here!